Over the past 2 years, Canada's population has grown faster than ever, comparable to the baby boom era. But as this happened, bad actors began exploiting the system. Fake colleges, large corporations, and dishonest recruiters have taken advantage of immigration policies for their own gain. Now, Canada is making big changes to the immigration system. Over the next 3 years, we'll be reducing the number of immigrants coming into the country. So, what happened? Where did things go wrong? And why is the government making this drastic shift? Let's break it down. Canada has 2 main immigration pathways. Permanent immigration, when people move to Canada to settle, work, and eventually become citizens. Temporary immigration, people who come for a short time to study, work, or gain experience before returning home. For decades, Canada's immigration plan only focused on permanent residents. The government would decide each year how many new permanent residents to accept, while the number of temporary residents, international students, and temporary workers was left to market demands. But after the pandemic, that approach fell apart. The COVID-19 pandemic shut down Canada's economy. Businesses closed, workers were laid off, and borders were shut. When the economy bounced back, we needed workers, fast. Suddenly, temporary foreign workers became a major part of our workforce. This was a big shift because in the past, temporary workers were a small percentage of our labor force. So for the first time ever, Canada included temporary residents in its long-term immigration plan. Now, instead of just setting targets for permanent residents, we are also setting limits on temporary immigration to ensure we have the infrastructure to support incoming workers and students. Immigration isn't just a random number. The government listens to provinces, businesses, and economic experts to determine the right amount. For example, provinces like Ontario and Alberta have labor shortages, so they want more skilled workers. Manufacturers and businesses want more employees to keep production moving. Some economists warn that too much immigration too fast can strain housing and healthcare. After 2 years of closed borders during the pandemic, nearly every sector was asking for more workers, more students, and more immigrants. So Canada listened. And for a while, it worked. The economy grew, businesses reopened, and most importantly, we avoided a recession. But not everyone played by the rules. Some corporations saw the immigration boom as a way to game the system. Some large businesses use temporary foreign worker programs to avoid hiring Canadians, exploiting loopholes to bring in cheaper labor. Many colleges and universities profited from international students, charging them way more than domestic students, while offering poor quality education. Scammers and fraudulent recruiters promise jobs, degrees, and easy pathways to citizenship, taking advantage of vulnerable newcomers. As a result, many people paid thousands of dollars for false promises, with no real job prospects or permanent status at the end of their studies. Looking back, Canada acted too slowly in adjusting immigration levels once the economy stabilizes. Now, it's time to correct the system and ensure immigration works for both Canadians and newcomers. Here's what's changing. Permanent immigration levels will be reduced by at least 20% over the next 3 years. New restrictions on temporary immigration, including fewer international students and stricter limits on temporary foreign workers. Canada's new focus is on prioritizing permanent residents who bring essential skills, such as healthcare workers, to address the doctor and nurse shortage, and construction workers to help build new housing. Meanwhile, temporary residents already in Canada will have two choices. Apply for permanent residency if they qualify, or return home when their visa expires. For those who attempt to stay in Canada by filing asylum claims, their cases will be analyzed and processed properly. If their claims are not legitimate, they will be sent home. With fewer new immigrants coming in, Canada's population growth will pause for the next 2 years. After 2027, it will gradually increase again at a more sustainable pace. This pause will help Canada catch up on housing shortages by building more homes, reduce reliance on temporary labor, and invest in training Canadian workers, and keep rental prices lower, since fewer international students will be competing for housing. Most importantly, it ensures that when immigrants do come to Canada, they have good job opportunities, affordable housing, and access to health care. Canada is one of the most welcoming countries in the world, and we're lucky that so many people want to come here. But to make sure immigration benefits both Canadians and newcomers, it has to be managed properly. That means stopping fraud, reducing exploitation, and ensuring that every new immigrant has a real opportunity to succeed. These changes aren't about stopping immigration. They're about getting it right.